Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the ID from from the collection itself, and how you can create and update the ID for each collection. For this specific example, we're going to use the user collection, and we're going to use a not forms, but we're going to use input fields in order to create the user, but also to update the ID itself. Just to give you a little idea of how it's going to look like, so in the database for this example of the user, we're going to have one field called ID, a number, and in here in the sign up form, as you can see, it's not really a form, but it's just text fields. So one for email, one for name, and one for the password. And then where everything is going to happen is in this button, where we're going to have a couple of actions: one to create the user, one to update the user ID, then another one to log in, and obviously then the one where you want to link to the home screen. So in order to do this, if we want to start from scratch, I'm just going to create a new screen, a blank screen. We're going to call it sign in, for example. And let me just pull it here below. And then we're going to need three fields. So one text input for the email. We're going to do it like email. Sorry for that. Here we're going to do email type. If we want to make it clean and tidy, we're going to write also here email. We're going to use another one for the password. Insert password in the placeholder. Here we're going to call it password. And then of course we have other fields in the database, which are the username and the full name. Here I had another one also, address, location, but obviously you can then decide if you want to create more fields besides these two. If you don't, you can just leave it like this. Then next step is we're going to need the button for the process. We can call it sign up. And then what we want to do is have access to the API, where when we create the user, we will have the ID exposed, and then we are going in the next step to update that ID field for the user that we have here. So I already created this in advance. In order to do that, we go here into the users, to the API documentation, and we're going to have this endpoint that we need. As you can see here on the right side, the password is not exposed, but it's no problem anyway, because when we are doing an API request, you can still use the password using these input text fields instead of the usual form. So if you would go here now, the first step is we want to create a custom action, new custom action. You can name it however you feel like it. We're going to do create, then next step here, next, we're going to add the endpoint, and then we're going to add a post request, because if we go here, we want to add a collection record. And then here, we're going to pick up this piece of the body. Well, you don't need to, I'm just going to do it. We're going to add here in the body. And then a couple of changes here. We're going to remove this, we don't need for now. But we do need the password, so we're going to add here the password. Then here, email and password, we're gonna add the inputs here on this side, email. Let's do a test. I probably already have this user and created, so it's gonna do test one. That, then add another one for the password. Let's just do it to 1, 2, 3 for now. Done. And then here we're going to add then the email, and here as obvious the password. Then in order to make requests, we can't forget to add the headers. So if we go here back into the API, when we want to make a post request on the header parameters, we do have the authorization and we do have the content type, although in the majority of the cases you don't need to use the content type. So we're just going to add, we're going to pick up here the authentication, the pair, copy. I'm going to go here, add an header, authorization as we saw in the instructions. Then we're going to add this here and we're going to do done. So now if we do a run test, you should be able to create the user, and you'll see in the response that you'll have the ID of that new created user. So let's gonna do a run test request. Oh, I have a mistake here. Oh yeah, I forgot the comma. It's not correct. So now doing it again, the test, and as we can see, test successful. We do have the ID here from the response of Adalo API endpoint 8. The password is hidden, obviously, and as we can see also here below, the ID, the email, the password, and still, of course, these fields we didn't use, they are null. So we're gonna now save the custom action. We already have it here, as we can see. We're gonna add then this email input field, and we're gonna add the password. Email, we're going to add the password, and this will give you the response. And now after we do this, we want to update then, going back here into the database, we are going to update this field that we created. So in order to do that, we're going to create a new action, update the user. Okay, actually I forgot something. First, what we are going to do is, after it creates the user, we are going to log in the user, and for this we can use the same components we had, the email, the password, done. And then the next step is we're going to update the logged in user, and in this case we only want to update the ID, so we're going to use this response we had before here, and as you can see, the response is here, and we're going to update with the ID. I'm going to do done. And then after doing this, we want to link to a screen, obviously, so we're going to just link to, for example, home. Okay, we're done here. All right, let's do a test. So now I'm gonna make this the main screen when logged off. Lookup screen, done. Let's do a preview. All right, so I'm gonna do now a test 2, test.com, random password, obviously here. Now I'm gonna do a sign up. And it redirected us to the home screen. As you can see, the ID is already here, 9, and also the email. So now if we go back into the database, we have 9 records as it was done. As you can see, test 2 at test.com, the new user, and as you can see, the ID was respectively updated. So this is it, just simple steps in how to use the ID update, and obviously this can be used for any other collection that you create. Just keep in mind that whenever you want to use this type of ID, you want to use custom input fields and the buttons and not by using a regular form because that will not expose the ID endpoint. Yeah. So this is it. Let me know if you have any further questions and enjoy it.